Welcome to another episode of What's Up with Wendy's podcast. All month long, I'm running the best of What's Up with Wendy. She is an actress, author. She is also the youngest person ever to win an Academy Award, which she won in 1974 at the age of 10 for her performance in Paper Moon. You won't want to miss my sit down with Tatum O'Neal. From Academy Award-winning actress Tatum O'Neal comes a powerful follow-up memoir to her New York Times best-selling A Paper Life, in which she chronicles her battle to be completely sober, seek forgiveness, and rebuild her relationship with her famous father, Ryan O'Neal, after nearly 20-plus years. In Found, A Daughter's Journey Home, Tatum O'Neal shares her hard insights on recovery, forgiveness, and the power of love. I am honored and pleased to welcome to my show, Tatum O'Neal.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm doing good today. I really am. I'm doing good, yeah.
Well, I have to tell you that your book I read from cover to cover and then back again. I couldn't put it down. It was so
It's a hard book to read, so congratulations. It's not a Chelsea Handler type book, you know?
Oh no, I have to tell you honestly, and I'm the same age as you. I'm a single
you are?
mom.
Okay, I like that age.
It's a good age. I have 2 kids. I have so much to say. I don't even know where to begin. I have 20,000 pages here, but your journey, your book was raw. It was revealing. It was brave. You really take us on a journey here, because it's kind of been like a process.
Sort of like life.
Like life, and your first book, A Paper Life, you said it wasn't remotely healing, and you wrote, and I'm just going to read this from this book. It says, I talked about a childhood in which, under the care of a mother who, in spite of her big heart, was utterly lost to drugs and her own tragedy, my younger brother Griffin and I were left to survive as best we could, living in a rundown ranch. We were unsupervised and wild. I can't imagine those times.
Yeah, that was the early 70s, 71, 72. It was, she was having her own battles with her own addiction, and we were sort of just lost in that unmanageability.
It must have been a terrible time. How did you pick yourself up after all you went through? Was there like some kind of moment? Was there something that happened, or did it just happen?
I've been sort of picking myself up along the way, and then I'd fall down again. I'd pick up, I'd fall down. And the thing is, in the 90s, when I was at sort of my worst, that was a much harder sort of way of having to pick myself up, because with a heroin addiction, it was so painful, and it was physically so debilitating, and it took so much out of me, and I would have to go to the hospital, and I'd have to, so I went through like that kind of addiction, which was so monumentally hard and really robs you of any kind of life at all. Certainly as a mother or actor or person, it just takes over everything. And then later I would have more of a struggle with things regarding surgeries and back surgeries, knee surgeries, neck surgeries, where I'd fall into
a different kind of addiction,
right? With pain medicine and stuff. So it's been sort of one step forward, or 2 steps forward, 1 step back, I like to say. And I've gotten sort of steadily better through the whole thing, and that's sort of the weird thing. I've been off of like hard drugs for a really long time, but it's been more of a struggle with pain medicine, but that seems to have really, I think I've moved on completely from that as well.
It's amazing that you are amazing. I'm going to start back a little bit from way back when.
Okay.
When you talked about my father, Ryan O'Neal, the star of Love Story, the golden boy with the big screen. He swept you up and he rescued you, and he put you in Paper Moon when you were 8 years old. Tell me about that.
Well, the life that I had been living with my mom had been terrible, and it was not a healthy life. I wasn't in school. I hadn't been to a doctor. My teeth literally were rotting out, and he would visit, and I would just sort of think about him all the time, like, please come and get me, please save me, because I was having so many bad situations at my mom's. I had broken my foot, I had fallen off a roof, I'd gotten caught up in a tree, there had been fires, I'd started fires, like, just so much chaos and so much craziness.
And this was all before you were 8 years old.
Yeah, that had surrounded my mom's addiction, and what was going on around that. And so I was just, like, literally I would pray every weekend for him to come, and we would go to his house and play in the beach, and then when it got so bad that he had to actually take custody of me, and my brother sort of came later, but I guess I'm not sure how the movie came up on his side of it, but that was just something that I didn't know much about, except for that I was going to be able to not have to go to school. And I had already had some bad situations in school where I'd gotten teased and made fun of and stuff because I didn't have the normal background, or the normal family situation. So I was happy not to be able to go to school. And I just think a lot of what was on in the movie Paper Moon just showed a kid who had seen already too much and gone through too much.
It's amazing. And you talk about those times. They seem like they were such happy times for you. You talk about being arm in arm with your dad and going everywhere with him, and that was such a great period in your life. Was it really?
Yes, yeah. For me, he seemed to be all I ever needed or wanted. My problems with him happened when I started to hit puberty, and he started to change and not be able to kind of handle the newer person that I was becoming. But those times were very happy and very contented. I was, it seemed saved, and then also had this sort of weird public thing happen, which was gonna be that would have been hard on any kid's psyche from a healthy, solid family or not, just to have that much success at such an early age.
Well, you also write that by 8 years old, you were earning your own money. By 11, you were the highest paid child actor, earning $350,000 for Bad News Bears, one of my favorite movies. And by 15, you had your own credit cards. I mean, that's not a normal life.
No, nothing I've gone through is normal at all, for sure. I can't say any of it's normal. And sometimes I ask my dear friends and the people closest to me, I say, how did I turn out like so normal? Because, for sure, like everything was done in a very different way than anybody I know, really, in the world. I've never really met anybody except for, like Mackenzie, who's gone through some similar-ish types of situations and grew up in the 70s in Hollywood and had sort of the same kind of adult stuff happening to her, but in a different way.
Right. If you just tuned in, I'm talking to Academy Award winner Tatum O'Neal about her new book, Found, A Daughter's Journey Home. You said on page 78 that at that time, and I don't know if it's still true, but Cher was your idol.
I love Cher, and I'm a fan of hers. She's not my idol anymore.
Is there someone?
My idols are now like Oprah and Mrs. Obama, and I have different idols. But in those days, yeah, like for me, if you had glamour, I was just obsessed, and I don't know why that is. Like, you'd have to have somebody psychoanalyze me because those were the only women that really my dad had around.
Right.
So I think that I understood that to be what the best type of women was. And it certainly was different than my mom, who had been struggling and didn't have that kind of glamour, clothes, perfume, makeup kind of thing. I just seemed to be in awe of all of that.
And back then, Cher was kind of it. She was all over the place.
It was amazing, yeah.
Right.
She was. And I had done her show so that I could, so I got a chance to get to know her a little bit. And she was so nice to me and so welcoming and really a good person to me and really took me in. Well,
that was great. You talk about when Ryan, your father, met Farrah Fawcett, and suddenly you and your brother Griffin were kind of left alone in his Malibu home. What were those times like?
Well, they were lonely, and the thing is that he had started to separate from myself much earlier than Farrah came along. He was not at all in any position or ready to handle raising a teenager. He just had no capabilities whatsoever. And so, yeah, we didn't know what we were doing, to be honest. Like, we tried to finish high school. We couldn't. We, Griffin was getting into a lot of trouble, and he was getting into a lot of drugs, and I hadn't sort of begun my spiral yet. I was still trying to take care of him and figure out why I'd been born. Like, that was sort of the big question. Like, why was I on the planet? I couldn't quite figure that out.
I can't even imagine. And here you are kind of being a mother yourself to your younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
Because
and he wasn't having it. Like, he wasn't appreciative at all. Like, and I get that because I was his sister and we're 11 months apart. So I get that. But I'm still doing that with him today, which is so funny. If you flash forward, I'm still taking care of Griffin.
Oh, how is he? How is Griffin?
Griffin knows he's got issues with his sobriety and that he needs to be sober, and he has a young son that he needs to be a good role model to now, and other children, and it's time to pull it together and get sober. Well, and to move out of the past and get into the present and get out of yesterday,
Exactly, which is what you're doing and what you have done.
Which is what I've been doing for a long time, actually.
Right.
It took writing A Paper Life to kind of get it out, and just get it off of me. Like, all of the stuff that had happened to me was just so traumatic and so much for any one person. And then learning how to live was what I was trying to write in the second book, is how do you live with that experience and be hopeful and be positive and reach for the stars.
That's why in your book, Found, A Daughter's Journey Home, you're teaching all of us, whether we're going through the same experiences, and I don't think anyone really could ever go through what you have went through because you went through so much, but there are parts in there that I'm sure all of us can relate to, and you're giving everybody out there hope.
And I do think that things are relative. Like, I do think life is relative. Even if you haven't gone through an abandonment or a drug addiction, that the feelings are the same. They're universal. Feelings of being lost, feelings of being hopeless, feelings of self-doubt or unworthiness. We all feel these from all over the world and different environments, different circumstances. I do believe that even if you haven't gone through the exact thing that you've gone through or I've gone through, that the feelings really are the same.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I hope one day, Griffin, I hope he looks at you and says thank you, and he realizes.
I hope so too. He did say today that I'm his superhero, and I really wish for him to get this program and to get sober and to get it, because so many people don't. And if you can manage to just get it, like, your life just can become so much better. Really, it's incredible, and he could be such a role model to others as well.
Absolutely. Well, tell him we're all rooting for him.
I
too.
will. And he's talented, and he's funny,
and he's handsome.
And he's handsome, and he's gone through the same type of things, but hasn't had the celebrity or the sobriety to kind of get it out there. So, and I did say to him, Griffin, you're very similar to Redmond in that you've been just a drug addict. You just have a different way of, you've got a quicker, repartee. So people think, oh, he's just really smart, but he really is just an addict who's gotten himself into every one of his situations because of his addictions.
Well, he has
because he's been in a number of them.
He has a wonderful role model in you.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
And he's. I really think he's going to be okay. I know he's going to be okay because you're right there next to him.
Yeah, you never give up on people, especially with addiction. I think that's the key that I learned, is that yes, there's a whole group of people that say tough love, tough love, tough love. Yes and no. Yeah, tough love. No enabling. But when you see that they're ready to change, please be there for those people that need you, because you do the feeling of being self-hate when you're in an active addiction is so great that you do know why no one wants to help you, and when someone does, that feeling of someone does believe in you is enough to really save your life. Maybe in this case, Griffin will think that just because I'm willing to help him, like that's. I don't give up on people at all.
They have to want it like you wanted it, because you really did want it.
Yeah, you have to want it, because nobody's going to give it to you. Nobody's going to make you want it. Nobody's going to guilt trip you into it. Nobody's going to say to you, oh, your children, oh, your father, oh, your mother, oh, you're this. That's just not going to do it. It's something that you have to go, you know what, I'm done with this. I've had enough. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to change my life and do something different.
And I felt you saying that throughout the whole book. And it
You
was
did?
also,
Oh, amazing.
which
Okay,
we're going to talk about in a little bit. I want to get to your children because I felt like that was a huge part of you getting better and you healing. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But first, I want to talk about at 22, you were engaged to tennis great John McEnroe, which you had your 3 kids, your beautiful kids, Kevin, Sean, and Emily. And you talk about John